Questions!
More
questions, or talk about things you like that maybe.
I think you have to end up first then.
This is an interesting topic. Thank you for bringing up stuff, not only things that you get dinged for liking, but things you get dinged for not liking. Because I thought Wonder Woman was the most overrated film of the year.
Run, my friend. We'll cover you.
Boy, you won't catch an earful when you say something about Wonder Woman. I think the fans turned a blind eye to some of the stuff she did, yet they dinged Superman on. The exact same things. She murdered Ludendorff, but Henry Cavill breaks out, so that people want to upload her.
My friend before Wonder Woman was like, I can't wait to hear what you think about Wonder Woman because I think it has a lot of flaws. And I was like, I'll tell you my opinion of Wonder Woman right now. It's amazing. I'm not allowed to have any other opinion of Wonder Woman. It's so incredible. I was so happy, you guys.
But you guys, I see what you guys are saying, but you guys represent a whole new sector that's coming out. You guys, I call you guys the anti-fanboys. I know you guys, because I got a friend like you.
Jerks.
You guys are being kind of snarky and you're kind of criticizing fans that you're fans yourself. And I get it, because there's some people that just, they go too far. But see, as an artist, especially you guys kind of create kind of a hypocritical atmosphere because you need fans to be passionate about your work in order for you to, I hate to say, you want to make money, right?
Sure.
So you want to be passionate about it.
I give away all my content for free,
so
I just want to be rad.
Not just artists in general. I know a lot of artists are getting tired of backlash, but some fans, and I think sometimes they're just overly passionate because they do like these characters.
Yeah.
It's like sometimes you should listen to the fans who miss male Thor. I'm not, if you like female Thor, fine, but if you've been collecting Thor all these years, it's kind of a, that was kind of jarring for those people. And,
but the Odin son's still around, and he's super dope.
He cut his arm off, and it's like, for some people they're a character. All I'm trying to say is there is two sides.
Yeah. I don't think it's hypocritical. We could also do this panel.
You gotta expect.
But we could do this panel and have it be all about stuff we hate. I could sit up here.
God, I wish that was this panel. I would be so good at it.
That would be next. But I could sit here and say, never liked Deadwood. Everybody says it's the greatest show in the world. I don't know what they're seeing, but they're wrong. But
I used to call this the I hate everything.
My argument would be, it's just about wishing people would find, it's like the kind of thing where it's like, if you look at reviews of something on Amazon, you have to sort of weigh the negative reviews way less than you weigh the positive ones, because it's much easier to go out into the world. Like, you're much more inspired to say, I hated that. That was the worst restaurant I've ever been to. The service was terrible. Then, most experiences are, it was fine. Like, you were at Wonder Woman, I would say, I thought Wonder Woman was fine. I didn't think it was worse. It was better than a lot of superhero movies. It was about the same as a lot of superhero movies, because, the bad guy stuff is stupid. Because it's always stupid. Because the big fight at the end is CGI. It's a video game. It's always a video game. But that doesn't, I don't need to spend my time telling my friends who thought it was great and loved taking their daughters to see it, and their daughters all want to be Wonder Woman now. What would I gain by telling them, maybe you didn't think about how it's really not that good. It's like,
right.
I just think it would be nice for people to focus on the stuff they love and not the stuff that
I'm not talking about knocking somebody else's enjoyment for it. If you like Wonder Woman, fine. But people come to me, I say, well, I thought it was overrated. People get upset about it. It's like you gotta love. It's like this is a movie you have to love.
But the James Cameron thing recently was kind of.
I kind of agree with half the stuff he says, but then I don't think it was detrimental. I'm sorry. I apologize to everybody.
No, I just think sometimes. And part of it.
I'm so sorry.
Stay space.
Sorry.
No. Let me jump on and agree with you. Right. I think that listening to fans is incredibly important, and as a fan myself, the passion that anybody feels for anything after consuming a piece of media is the thing. It's why we're here. It is the essence itself. The interesting thing, and we should be clear, none of us control whether Thor is a lady or a man, right? But let's say we did, right? Which fans you listen to is part of the problem. And at the end of the day, I would say that there's a kind of a conundrum in that, it's not a conundrum, it's whatever a thing is that contradicts itself, right? Because, yes, it's a paradox. Because
Star Trek.
Thank you. I'm sorry. We have to listen to you, and we should listen to you. And at the end of the day, we should never listen to you, because you don't want an artist to tell stories based on what the fans say they want. Because all artists are trolls and tricksters. Our job isn't to give you what you want, it's to promise you what you want and then give you what you need.
Right. And having, you know, and I'm going to jump on and disagree with John here.
So common, so common.
So common. No, but ultimately is I think that it's important to recognize that just because there's a new story doesn't mean that it invalidates the old stories, or that new stories with different versions of these characters won't be told in the future. You know, sometimes you just need to give an opportunity for a story to tell its course, to run its course. Because, you know, I used to read West Coast Avengers, and at one point Vision went from like red and green and yellow to bleached white. And I thought, oh, that's kind of weird. But eventually he came back, and he's still red, green, and yellow. I mean, it took a while, but he still came back.
I was also a kid during all beige Vision, so
Yeah.
that still looks cool to me.
Yeah, it's cool, but it was weird, and it took a long time to react to. So, I mean, I think that it's, what I was going to say is, I think our goal here, and part of this panel, is being mindful of the tenor of the conversation that we're having, and the tone of the conversation that you're having. We're not saying it's not okay to like stuff. We're not saying it's not
Or to
okay
not like stuff.
or to not like stuff. It's just what is the conversation that we're having, and how are we being mindful of making sure that we're listening where we need to listen, and making sure that we're also, as creators, listening where we don't need to listen. We can listen, but we don't necessarily need to be guided by what else is happening.
I think that makes a lot of sense. I think there's also a question of perspective where it's sometimes it's sort of the thing where it's like, you know, before you type that post, you know, count to 10 or take deep breaths or whatever. Where it's like using Thor as the example, and I'm not arguing, you know, with the merits of the comic. I'm sure there were people in the 80s who were mad that Thor turned into a fraud.
Or War Machine was...
Or that a guy with a horse head had Thor's hammer. And they weren't wrong to not like it, but in the fullness of time, we love those stories, and we think those stories were some of the best stories. And if they weren't the best stories, no one would remember them now. I had this, when I was an editor at DC, I edited Greg Rucka's first run of Wonder Woman. Thank you. And he despaired sometimes until I thought that was cool. That, like, you know, he knew towards the end that new stuff was coming, and he didn't think he'd ever come back to write the character, which turned out to not be true. But he was very sad that work that he thought was some of the best work he had done in comics wouldn't matter anymore. And I tried to offer him the counsel in the role as editor, as bartender to sad freelancer, was if the work's good, you are lucky to be working at a time when the work gets collected and people can see it again later. And if the new books are terrible, they won't, like those won't, the cement won't set on those. Like, those will never be the permanent thing. The vision of like, when characters are around for 75 years, there's a certain weight and momentum to them. Thor will always be a guy with long blonde hair, no matter, you know, to a certain extent, because you can't change it forever. Like, you can't, new characters can be. And you know, I just think that's the important perspective, is like, the stuff you love is still the stuff you love.